Okay, so I wanted to make kind of like a podcast type video about my top 20 favorite video games. And the reason I picked 20 was because feel like I couldn't really narrow it down just to 20 picks, to just to 10 picks. So I decided to add 10 extra picks. Anyway, I think like anyone, as we all know, if you're like me, you've wasted a lot of time playing video games or whatever. And I'm going to make a few ground rules for this list. It's going to be like only console games, mostly because I grew up poor. So if before you go like typing away in the comments about, oh, PC is so much better, blah blah blah. Well, the thing is, I couldn't afford a PC when I was a kid, and I had to use a shitty laptop to even play like Flash games. And two, I also wanted to limit it to console games so that I don't have to bring in mobile games. Not that mobile games are worse than console games. It's just that they're a totally different experience and are very different than console and handheld gaming, which is handheld's a lot more similar to console gaming. So I decided to put those console games onto handheld games on the list too. Free one game per entry of series. Now this does not mean one game per franchise, but more just one game per series, as I wanted to make it a little more variety to the list. Anyway, I'm gonna start with number 20, which is Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. And if you're like me, then you've had probably three major obsessions as a kid: Marvel, Sonic, and Star Wars. And there's there was a lot of great Star Wars games that were released in that time, from the original Star Wars game, all for the Atari arcades, all the way to the more recent Star Wars games like Jedi Fallen Order. And one thing that I've noticed is that there's a lot of games that will make you where you can play as a Jedi, like the Jedi Knight Academy and stuff like that, which I have yet to play, but I want to play anyway. A lot of times I've noticed that they don't really make you feel like the Force abilities are kind of like a second or afterthought compared to the lightsaber combat. They don't really make you feel like you're like using the Force in any way. If you know what, yeah. Like they don't make you feel like the tangibly using the Force. And that's something that I thought the Force Unleashed did really well with its Force abilities, was that it made it so that you felt like you were, actually using the Force with your push and pull mechanics and stuff like that. And you can also repel enemies with a Force explosion. You can use Force lightning, and it's really fun to just fuck around with the Force abilities and push and throw your enemies and throw rocks and boulders at bosses and stuff, and it's really fun. It makes up for the lightsaber combat is good, but kind of more of a hack and slash, and something you'd find in Jedi Knight Academy or whatever. And the story is the real reason it's on the list is mostly because the story is a really interesting take on the Star Wars universe, and has a more moral gray area to it than most Star Wars media, which is pretty interesting. And also, I grew up playing the Wii version, which is obviously inferior, except for the multiplayer, which is pretty good. But I didn't have really a problem with it. I beat that, and then I later bought the PS3 version, and you should go with the PS3 version if you want to play the campaign, like the main campaign. And like, there's so many cool moments, like when he pulls the Star Destroyer out of the field. Anyway, if you like Star Wars and you like, if you like Star Wars and if you like video games, you want to play a game that makes you feel like a Jedi or Sith, that's a good one to start with. The next, number 19 on the list, would be the Marvel vs. Capcom series. So yeah, I didn't really want to pick one particular game. I just want for this entry because I just love the franchise in general. But if I had to pick a favorite out of this franchise, it's either Marvel 2 or Marvel 1. Either way, like I said, I was obsessed with Marvel as a kid, and I also really like fighting games. So a fighting game starring Marvel characters, that would have been my cup of tea. And I'm lucky enough to live in an area where they have an arcade machine of the original Marvel superheroes game by Capcom, like the original Marvel superheroes fighting game by Capcom, in my local mall. And I also was able to find Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And these games are really fun and like really fast-paced, usually team-based games where you either pick one or two or three characters, and you can have like air combos, you can have assists, and you can just do like crazy combinations of characters and combos. And like, have you ever seen someone play the games like pro level? It gets like insane. Like, the games are always pretty broken, but that's the appeal of the games, in my opinion, is that they're broken. And also, the soundtracks for these games are always really great. You ever got original compositions, like the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 soundtrack, which is my personal favorite soundtrack, or you've got remixes of popular songs from each franchise, like Marvel 3 or Marvel 1. And let's just say the themes for the Marvel heroes in those games are just beautiful. Like Spider-Man's theme makes you feel like Spider-Man, and Captain America's theme I've been bumping since before I even played the games, when I was still playing them on an emulator. But yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom, Captain America's theme, look that up. That's like one of the best. That should be like the theme they used in the movies, not the like generic shit that you hear in the Avengers movies. Anyway, what I would say is I obviously have my mains in the games. My mains being Captain America, mostly for the theme, and Wolverine and Morgan, and Spider-Man from time to time, and Spider-Man. Those are my four mains that I usually use. I switch between them and Deadpool from time to time. And if you like team-based combat video fighting games, you gotta play the original. You gotta play Marvel vs. Capcom. And if I had to suggest a game to pick out to start with, probably Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and whatever you do, skip Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. That one, I heard, is not that great. To this day, it still gets shit on. I remember when it came out. And yeah, I guess I'll move on to number 18. Let's see what I have an image that, like, that shows all the games I have. Oh, okay. Number 8. Number 18 is Rystar. Now, I've already said I love Sonic the Hedgehog, and I love those 2D Sonic the Hedgehog games. Like, they're some of my favorites. Sonic Free being the best out of the 2D. Sonic Free and Knuckles being the best out of the 2D Sonic games. But one thing is like that I know a lot of people struggle with is that sometimes the games can be too fast, even for the player, for the camera. And it's like, it's obviously very high octane, very fun. But what would you do if you slowed down the speed and made it focused more on exploring? Well, then you would get Rystar, which, contrary to popular belief, was not developed by Sonic Team. It was developed by a different in-house Sega team. And Rystar is such a beautiful game. Beautiful like level design, beautiful graphics, beautiful characters and like bosses and stuff. Now, this game is actually, despite what it looks like it could be an answer to the Kirby games, it's not as easy. It's not really that easy as compared to the Kirby games. And I still haven't really beat it, but that's also because I haven't sat down to actually try to beat it. I mostly just play it casually. But like Rystar is a lot harder than the Sonic games, I would say. Like, not unforgivingly hard, but still a decent challenge. And if you are like into like 2D platformers and you like the like stylistic flair of Sonic the Hedgehog or like I don't know, well, like Sonic the Hedgehog or like the various games that were inspired by it, then you probably would like Rystar. It's pretty good, and the stretching mechanic is cool too. It's actually like originally like based off a prototype design for Sonic where he was a rabbit and he would use his arms to grab people, so they repurposed that for Rystar. Anyway, the number 17 pick is Pac-Man. Let's see, it's one of the Pac-Man games. It's not regular Pac-Man, even though that is one of my favorite games for its sheer simplicity. It's Pac-Man Championship Edition. Now, Pac-Man, I love Pac-Man. I love a good game of Pac-Man. But, you know, Pac-Man can get kind of boring after a while when it's the same stage over and over again with no spice or flair. Well, that's where Pac-Man Championship Edition comes in, because there was always new levels to play, and it included a nice neon aesthetic that like was easy on the eye. And if you were like me, you were trying to get the high score, and it was so interesting. I don't really have much to say about it though, because it's just a simple game of Pac-Man. So moving on to number 16, we have Tekken Free. Again, I love fighting games, and this one has sentimental value to me because my dad, he loves the Tekken games. So when I got this, he was like excited for me to play it. And he would just watch. We'd play sometimes against each other, and he'd watch me and my brother play. And Tekken, what I like about Tekken is mostly how ridiculous the lore of the story is. Like, it's like a soap opera almost, and how weird and like convoluted it is. And like, I don't know. I know it's kind of a basic pick to pick Tekken Free as your favorite, but I also really like Tekken Tag Tournament 2, which is probably my other pick for 16th pick, because Tekken Tag Tournament 2 takes all the elements of Tekken 6, which was a pretty so-so Tekken game, and makes it actually really fun to play. And Tekken 3 and Tekken Tag Tournament 1 are basically the same game, just extended with more characters. And the gameplay on Tekken 3 is like insanely juggly, and like you can get really good combos with it, and it's really fun. And another thing I like about the Tekken games is the free-flowing 3D movement, because unlike Virtual Fighter, Virtual Fighter, which had more of open stages. Tekken was like more squared. Like there's really not much bullshit. It's a very like simple fighting game. Like there's no crazy, like Virtual Fighter is like the stripped down completely to like the bare essentials. Tekken adds a little bit more swag to the 3D fighting games. Now, I could also put Soul Calibur on the list, but I really think Tekken 3 exemplifies what I like about the 3D fighters compared to 2D. And Namco, same publisher of Pac-Man. Namco does a really good job with like character designs. Like my main in Tekken 3 is Forest Law, and then my mains in most of the other Tekken games are Martial Law, Raven, and Asuka. Those are like my favorite characters for some reason. For Asuka, it's mostly just because like her design is cool, but for Law, I like Law because he's like Bruce Lee, but also he's like funny and stuff. And like Raven, I just like Ninja's characters. Anyway, number 15 on the list is probably Metal Slug 2 now. Usually I don't really like run and gun like side scroller. I like side scrollers, but I don't like run and gun side scroller games. Mostly because I suck ass at them, but also for the fact that I don't know. I feel like I also feel like they can get kind of samey with they're always military, like old military type of thing ordeals. And I do like the skill that is required to play them. It's pretty good when you actually beat a stage in those games. But the reason I like Metal Slug so much is because of its art style. It's got like really great art, and like the sprite work is beautiful. And the reason why the second one's on here is because I'm pretty sure it's the first one I played as a kid. And Metal Slug in general is just a really good series, and I was really inspired to like start playing these games more from this YouTuber Miguel Garcia. He made a whole like retrospective on the games that I would probably link in the description. Anyway, the 14th entry is the Simpsons arcade game. Now this is a game I've always wanted to play, but only got to play recently through my best friend, his emulator that he has on his computer, and it's a fun game. Everything people say about it is true. Now the combat is a little, like, it does feel a little weightless when you are attacking enemies and stuff, but I will say that the sprite work, like, I like how it has like a Japanese flair to these Western cartoon characters that we've seen so many times. And I'm a big fan of The Simpsons, and especially those early seasons, because like they just feel like completely different from what The Simpsons would become in the golden era and even like the later era. Like when they're still developing the characters. I find that very interesting. and like how they take this underground cartoonists, like Matt Groening, who was an underground cartoonist at the time, how they take his like sharper, like rough around the countercultural leanings and make it into a TV show that's like becomes the biggest and most profitable cartoon on its network and probably of all time. And it's just a fun game, and it's one of the games I have beaten on the list where it's like beat 'em up games can be kind of stale, but I've always liked beat 'em ups, even though they're kind of mindless. Mostly because they're fun to play. I like the social aspect where you get to play with your friend. Cause it's always better. Beat 'em up games are always funner when you have a friend with you to play them with. Like, I don't really play many beat 'em ups by myself, but like, this was like a real fun experience to play with my best friend, and we would just joke around and constantly make we'd appreciate all the references to the show that were on in there, even though it was so early. Now, I haven't played The Simpsons Hit and Run, but if I did, it probably would replace the Simpsons arcade game on this list. But anyway, what number are we on? Let me count. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. Okay, so number 13. This is going to be controversial, but it's Drake of the 99 Dragons. Now, I know it's not technically it's not a great game or a good game by any means, but I personally always liked it. One, I dig the art style. I dig the aesthetic because it's like trying to be that. It's like that late 90s, early 2000s, like Matrix, like style of like futuristic, like, I don't know whatever word to call it, but like, I don't know whatever word to call it, but like cyberpunk type of aesthetic. And this game is fun to play with someone, like to like react, someone to like with someone watching you, because it's so like broken and buggy that like you just can't help but like laugh at like the absurdity of what's going on. And like, I had an old Let's Play on I have a Let's Play on an old channel where I played this game. Only like one episode. I like that in the description too, but you can tell it's kind of like just fun. I did it with my brother, but you can kind of tell that it's just fun to do. It was just fun to like watch. It's just fun to watch people play. Like Rebel Taxi, he had a video about it, about the game, and yeah. Another thing I like about it is actually the gunplay. As bad as it may be, is actually pretty fun. It's pretty fun to like fuck around with the physics in this game, and like, yeah. I also like the art style is like very Bruce Timm like inspired, because it's like Batman the Animated Series is like one of those cartoons I grew up watching. But actually, when I grew up watching it, but I mostly grew up watching the 4th season. I know everyone shits on the 4th season, but I love the 4th season's like art style, like this art style Bruce Timm would adopt later on for his other series, for like Superman, and like in the Justice League series and Batman Beyond. I love that style. Like, if I could learn how to draw, if I could teach myself how to draw better, I would learn how to draw on a style that's similar to either that or Jordan Vasquez, and mixed with like the Billy and Mandy, or like early Powerpuff Girls UPA style that everyone kind of likes but never really understands why it works so well. But anyway, yeah, the aesthetics is what draws me to this game, just because I think the comic book style of it is really cool, and like I love the Bruce Timm inspired designs. Anyway, the 13th pick is Super Monkey Ball Deluxe, which is a nostalgia pick because I used to play Super Monkey Ball with my best friend at his house on the GameCube, and this game is fun. Even though I suck at it, it's like really fun to play, especially like the mini games, like Monkey Bowling, Monkey Golf, Monkey Gun Play, whatever. All those mini games, those are all extremely fun. And it's funny because my best friend associates Sega more with Super Monkey Ball than with Sonic, because he never really played that many Sonic games as a kid. And that's kind of funny. So the 12th entry is Halo Reach. Now, I'm not that big into first-person shooters. My brother's more into them, but I'm not like completely like acculturation where I think that they're completely mindless, because like there's definitely some strategy in some of the earlier FPS games like Doom and Quake. And I mean, like, they were played mostly by computer nerds, so they had to have some level of strategy for people to like them. And Halo, I've always loved the Halo series just because it's basically just a more grown-up version of Star Wars. Like, the Spartans are basically just the clone troopers of their universe. And why I like Halo Reach so much is because I like the story. I like how tragic the story is compared to the rest of the Halo games. Whereas the rest of the Halo games are a triumphant good versus evil story. Halo Reach is like the fall of these bands of brotherhood who are like responsible for the early Halo lore. And it's like, it kind of shows you, it's kind of like the Rogue One of the Halo universe, where it shows like some of the beginnings, like that led up to like the first Halo game, and it shows like the consequences of warfare and stuff like that in a really unique way. And also, it's got one of the best multiplayers. Now there is some controversy because it added the sprint and a bunch of other abilities that shook up the gameplay, but I think it's fine. It's not like egregious. Like, it's not like an egregious like thing where the free games where it's like sprinting's basically mandatory in most of the level design. And yeah, Halo, I would say Halo, the whole Halo series would go on the list, yeah. But Halo Reach is my favorite. Now, number 11 is Batman Arkham Asylum. And I have a lot to say about Arkham Asylum. So much that I might make a separate video where I actually write down my thoughts and actually edit something that like requires a little bit more effort than this like little podcast. And I'll just write down what I think about Batman Arkham Asylum, because Arkham Asylum is one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had. And I know most people would probably put Arkham City or maybe Arkham Knight before it, but to me, Arkham Asylum is the best, because I love Arkham Asylum. I mean, I love Arkham City and the open world and stuff like that. Like, open world games are pretty fun, but they do kind of feel like, but sometimes the open world does feel like a substitute for game design, because it usually is very empty and you have to just keep going to different missions and side quests to keep the game going. And yeah, and like, I don't know, like I think the Arkham City had better bosses than Arkham Asylum, which is the one critique I have of Arkham Asylum. But Arkham City had way worse like level, I think like worse level design than Arkham Asylum. And like, and more, there was more unique areas to visit, but I kind of like how Arkham Asylum was like a closed off area where you could explore the entirety of like, you could explore like the entirety of the asylum. And there was so much attention to detail. Like, you could literally find plans for Arkham Asylum, for Arkham City, that wasn't found until years after the game came out. And there's so much like attention to detail and like everything from like the Riddler trophies to like the voice logs you get in the game to like Arkham City's journal, like Amadeus Arkham's journal, to the character bios, to like to the way certain things, like if you interact with the environment. And also because Arkham Asylum has always been a part of DC's lore that fascinates me. Like, I've always loved any story that takes place in Arkham Asylum, then I'm going to either read, watch, or like consume it in some way, because it's like, I've always found Arkham Asylum and its history to be very interesting. Like, one of my favorite Batman graphic novels is Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, which inspired the game. And the story for Arkham Asylum is just really, I think Arkham City, what I would say, probably has a more exciting story and better like thought out story. Arkham Asylum story, and it was just really good. Like, the Joker's Venom thing was kind of stupid, but like everything about the rest of the game, from the aesthetics to like the vibe to the gameplay to, you know, stuff like the tone to even like just like the environment itself, like where you're exploring, just speaks to me better. And like, of course, everyone talks about how good the combat is, and of course detective mode is really cool. And one thing I think about that's really great about this game is that the graphics still hold up like 15 years later. Like, this game came out in 2009. I remember watching trailers for it when it came out. I remember I watched my uncle play this game back in the day. And like, I thought it was like the peak of gaming. I don't think graphics could get better than that. And in a way, they kind of didn't. Because like, yeah, they're more high to fidelity. They look more realistic. But they don't really capture like a stylistic vision in the way those old graphics did. The way that Batman Arkham Asylum looks. Because Arkham Asylum, especially Arkham Asylum, looks like it could be like a generation after it. Like, it looks like it could be like a PS4 game. And like, you can tell because they spent a lot of time on like the animations for that game. Like, I think they spent like 4 years animating just the cape physics. And like, when they remastered it, it looks basically the same, because like the game just held up so well. And I love all the villains in it, and I love how, you know, Riddler isn't really seen, which is kind of a cool idea. Like he's more like you have to find his trophies and stuff, and he just messes with you. It's pretty cool. And like Arkham City obviously introduced more villains, more of the classic villains, and some of the more newer villains. But I think Arkham Asylum had just so many classic villains, and of course the highlight of the whole game is the Scarecrow sections. Anyway, I've been yapping about this game for like a lot longer than I thought I would be. So we're going to go to the next entry, which is the next entry, which is number 10, is Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Now, I love the Smash Bros. Games, and as much as I like the new Smash Bros. Game, like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and all the characters that it has, there's something special about Brawl in a way. I don't know why. Yeah, I know it's not the most competitively viable game. Yeah, I know it's like I know it's like really floaty and like more casual oriented, but it's just a fun game to play. And also, you could just mod it to Project M if you want to play the competitive game, and also have better costumes than the rest of the Smash series. But Smash Brothers Brawl just feels more substantial than the games that came after it. Because like Wii U was good. I have fond memories of playing that with my best friend when it came out. And it's like it had a lot of great but like that game was always the worst Smash Brothers game. Like it had like no modes, no extra modes besides the fighting, and like no story mode or anything, just arcade and stuff like that. Like not like just like yeah. And while the roster was good, there was a lot of glaring omissions in that game, just because of the 3DS. And like Ultimate, obviously, I think Ultimate has the most variety for newcomers, but like to me, it's the perfect balance between the hardcore competitive melee gameplay and like the casual. But like I didn't really vibe with its story mode that much, mostly because it doesn't have any cool pre-rendered cutscenes. And like I never grew up with Melee. I didn't grow up with playing Melee because I'm old, but I'm not I'm not really that old, I'm pretty young, 22, so like I was born right after the GameCube era, even though I played a lot of GameCube games. And like Melee was like, even at the time, was so expensive. And so I've never played Melee, so I have no nostalgic memory for it. Whereas if a Brawl, I think it's my nostalgia glasses talking, but I love Brawl. Like a lot. Brawl's like probably one of my favorite games of all time for that reason, because it has on top of like a ton of content, probably just as much, if not more content than Ultimate. Like it doesn't have as much playable characters, but the amount of unlockable stuff you can find in Brawl is just crazy. From the trial of classic games to the millions of trophies, which Ultimate doesn't even have trophies, to like the deep cut references to all these Nintendo games, and like the trophies and the assist trophies, the soundtrack. Like Smash Bros has the best soundtrack out of any video game series ever, especially Brawl. Brawl has the best soundtrack out of all the Smash games, and Brawl has the best soundtrack of any game, period. Like, I still get goosebumps every time I hear the freaking opening theme from Brawl with the Latin and stuff like that. And also, the thing that elevates Brawl compared to the other Smash games is the story mode, the Subspace Emissary. Because, like, that was, like, one of the first times I think that there was a story on that scale of, like, a crossover with this many characters. Because usually in media, when there's crossovers between two corporate things, it's like one or two franchises. But, like, Smash Bros. Combined, like, all of Nintendo... Subspace Emissary had all of Nintendo's IPs and Sonic and Solid Snake, which is pretty cool. And, like, I think that the guest characters in the new other games are cool, but, like, it is kind of feel cool to have, like, just a game where it's basically all Nintendo characters in, like, this one big epic story. And, like, it's basically the stuff fan fiction is made out of. And speaking of fan fiction, for the longest time, the longest piece of fan fiction, I think everyone knows this, but one of the longest pieces of fan fiction for a while was a Smash Brothers, fan fiction, which of course got placed with the freaking Loud House. Blech. Yeah. Shitty ass cartoon. But that Smash Brothers fan fiction is just crazy, bro. It's crazy that someone wrote that much. But there's so much, like, you could do with that story. There's so much potential for storytelling. Like, it's basically, like, Nintendo, like, Subspace Emissary was, like, Nintendo's attempt at, like, a Kingdom Hearts type of story. Which is funny, because Sora's in Smash now, but, like, Kingdom Hearts was, like, a mixture of all of Square Enix's history and all of Disney's history. In a way, Subspace Emissary was like a celebration of Nintendo's history. Yeah, I'm already humming the theme already. But like, Smash Brothers especially is like a very important franchise to me, and like, I know the openings haven't been as cool as Melee's, but it's still cool. But back to what I was saying. I think the only other crossover to this scale I've seen in a video game was Project X Zone in, like, the Namco X Capcom game. Like, which is, like, a huge crossover between all of Capcom and all of Namco. And that's, like, pretty cool. I know Project X Zone has Sega and even Nintendo, and that's, like, great and all, but, like, I like fighting games. I don't really fuck with RPGs. Anyway, number 8 is a strange and kind of not really obscure, but kind of obscure. But they got like recently got a re-release, which is Ty the Tasmanian Tiger 2, and this is a fun one. This is one of the first 3D platformers I've ever played, along with Taz Wanted and, like, Super Mario Galaxy. And it's fun. It's a decent platformer. I don't know why. I'm just putting it on here for nostalgia's reasons. Anyway, number 7 is Resident Evil 5. Because I like playing it with my best friend. I play it every time I'm at his house. Which isn't a lot because we live far away from each other. But it's actually really fun. And, like, it makes me want to play the other games, Resident Evil games. Because it's like, at first, it took a while for me to get used to it because I bought it on PS3, but I don't have anyone to play it with because my controller's broken. But playing it at his house has been fun, and it's way funner, I think, with a friend, because, like, the other Resident Evil games are all about being single player, which is fine too, but, like, it's really fun because it kind of teaches you how to manage resources. And, like, how to, like, it's a survival horror game. It teaches you the basics of, like, surviving if you're, like, in a zombie apocalypse, which it's stupid to apply this stuff in a survival situation to, like, a video game. but in a weird way, it's like teaches you about life in a way, teaches you how to like manage resources, how to balance budgets, and stuff like that, how to balance, you know, your money, your ammunition for the gun, you know, your health and stuff like that, and it's really fun, especially with friends. Anyway, number 6 is Super Mario Galaxy. Now, this is my brother's favorite game, and it was like Mario. I've liked Mario as a kid. Like, he was cool, but I've always been more of a Sonic kid. But this game elevated Mario in my eyes. Because at first, Mario was just a silly cartoon character. But this game has like... This game is like... takes the formula of the 3D Mario games of the past and makes it like... and perfects it in a way. Well, yes, it's more linear. That leaves more room for creativity in the level design. And the soundtrack is very good, like crazy good. Like I said, Smash Brothers Brawl has the best soundtrack of any video game. I think Super Mario Galaxy is a close contender. And it's like the 3D like graphics and stuff, like the zero gravity stuff, is a really cool gimmick. Anyway, I'm gonna probably move on. Number 5 is Darkstalkers Free, or as it's often called, Vampire Savior in other countries. But another fighting game. But the thing about Darkstalkers I like is not just the appealing designs, we'll say that, the appealing female character designs, but also the cartoony aesthetic. I like, you know, the squash and stretch kind of look that they went with, and like the mixed with like the anime influence. And the thing I like about Darkstalkers is like the gothic aesthetic. I think that's like unique, because like a lot of games go for a gothic aesthetic, but they don't mix it with other things. It's always like straight up like just goth, but this is like goth mixed with like cartoon, like Universal monsters, which is pretty cool. And the combat is basically Street Fighter, but like with monsters. So you have monster abilities and stuff like that, and it's pretty fun. My mains are Lord Raptor and Heinzko, whatever her name is. And yeah, I would say that number 4, if I remember correctly, number 4 is the Mega Man X series. Now, I never remember just putting the whole series, because there was a time period where I was really into Mega Man as a kid, and like I didn't play the games that much because they were too hard for me as a kid, but Mega Man became like an obsession, where like I would just like watch like videos on YouTube about different aspects of the Mega Man lore. And Mega Man X especially appeals to me now as I'm older, because like Mega Man never really has a story, the classic series, but Mega Man X had like a story of like war between two world robot factions, and it's like very complex, like a space opera almost, and that's really cool. So it's like, and also I think it has better gameplay than the original Mega Man games. Like as soon as they added the slide over made the slide more of a the dash beside, more of a dash than like a stupid little slim wimpy slide. I think that was cool. And also, I just like the Maverick bosses more. Like the animal theme's really cool. And I haven't beaten a Mega Man X game yet, but I want to. I really want to. And I like how there's like Street Fighter Easter eggs in the first game. And I have Mega Man X4 downloaded on my phone, and I want to hook it up to like off a console so I can play it to the TV, and I can hook it up to a console so I can play it with a controller, so I can play that, because I heard it's one of the best Mega Man X games and a good starting point. And the only problem is that I think only the first 4 Mega Man X games are considered good. So like only 4 games, which is like pretty to play. You don't want to play all 8. Unless you're a masochist and hate yourself, you know. Anyway, my third favorite game is Mario Kart DS. And now I said 1 game per series, not 1 game per franchise. There's a difference. And Mario Kart DS is like really good. I like Mario Kart, but it's like I kind of like other kart racers more than Mario Kart, because like Mario Kart's kind of unfair and like is geared towards casual play, which is fun sometimes, but I kind of like Mario Kart for the exact opposite reasons that I like Smash Bros. But Mario Kart DS is like the one where like Mario Kart DS and Double Dash, but I haven't played Double Dash, but DS perfected the Mario Kart formula in my opinion, because it had a good balance between random and like skill. Because like I used to abuse the shit out of the drifting. Like I would just drift the whole half the stage and get first place every time. And I took that out of like the game of like the more recent games. They nerfed the drift, which makes it less fun because it's less competitive. It's less skill based, where it's like if you know how to manage the drift, you can like get in first really easily. And Mario Kart Wii was okay. That one's like the most random. And then I think the newer games just feel bland to me. So I'm just gonna go with Mario Kart DS as my favorite. And then number 2 on the list is Garou Mark of the Wolves, which, yes, another fighting game, but this one is unique because the SNK type of fighting games are very different to the Capcom type of fighting game. Capcom is more about like flashing moves and like fast-paced gameplay, where it's like SNK is slower and more strategic, I would say. And Mark of the Wolves has my personal favorite aesthetic of any fighting game, where it has the Y2K. It doesn't really go for like a Y2K type of aesthetic like the Tekken franchise does, or like the horror themes of like the cartoon horror themes of Darkstalkers. It's more of a grunge type of look to it, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Like, yeah. And my number 1 favorite game is Sonic Adventure 2. Where do I even begin, though? I could probably talk about this game for an hour. Everything down to the story, the gameplay, the characters, the soundtrack. Okay, top 3 favorite gaming soundtracks: Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Super Mario Galaxy, and Sonic Adventure 2. Sonic Adventure 2 is the most personal game to me because it got me into like different types of music as a kid. Like Shadow the Hedgehog's theme got me into industrial. Knuckles got me into rap and stuff like that. And I think what I like about it is that it was one of the first times that that my parents, my dad and like my siblings actually like cared about an interest that I had, because they would actually like watching me play. Like my dad liked to watch me play, and I remember I was listening to the soundtrack and I thought he wouldn't like the Shadows theme because it's like kind of dark and moody, but it's kind of funny in retrospect because he likes industrial music because he grew up on it in the 90s. So I just assumed that he wouldn't like it, but I put it on. I turned it off, but then he's like, "Don't turn it off. I like this," and that made me feel like a little more. Like I was less weird for liking the things that I do, and yeah. Another thing is everyone hates the Tails game and Eggman gameplay and the Knuckles. I actually like the Knuckles levels. They're I don't know. I like the idea, the fact that you can explore like this in these giant stages, and like yeah, it's kind of annoying that you only can a radar on the rest for one emerald at a time. But do you really want the thing beeping every time you come across an emerald, like beep, like constantly beeping? Like I think they should have just took the beeping sound out, because we have the like thing on the screen that tells it, that shows like the freaking game, like it shows the game play, shows when you're close to an emerald. I think they should have just kept it as like Sonic Adventure 1, which honorable mentions would be Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, obviously, those two. Soul Calibur 4, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, and the Arkham Origins stuff, like all the Arkham games that were on the list. Anyway, I'll have to like another list of like some of my other favorite games when I think about it more. But Sonic Adventure 2, the Sonic stages are peak, and the Tails ones are a little lame, but they're kind of fun as a time waster. I used to play those a lot too. Now, I never cared much for the Chao Garden because like my memory card was glitching out about it, so I never really paid attention to it that much. But it was pretty cool, I guess, in some respects. I know, but the real thing about Sonic Adventure 2 is that the story is so good. Like it's basically a government conspiracy cover up about like Shadow the Hedgehog and like Sonic getting framed by Shadow the Hedgehog, and they discover like a space colony arc and like Dr. Gerald Robotnik's plot to like destroy the Earth or whatever. It's pretty cool, and it also has a really good character moments, like really good completing the character arcs in it. And anyway, that's my list of my favorite video games, and I kind of was just rambling, and yeah, I don't know, I'm very bad at like talking like unscripted, you know, like ever since the medicine my head's gotten emptier, I would say, and I'm closing in on about an hour mark, so I'm just gonna end it here and share a really cool video with you.
Get right away to believe. Carry on. You can see tomorrow. I'll stand it back, look back. Because it won't matter. So possible, no gas, no love. No fear, no tears. Yes, let it go. Get over.